Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today we are talking about the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Dallas Stars, a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals. And this is going to be a fun one, as all of the playoff series this year just feel like this is set up to be the most entertaining playoffs we have ever seen. Every matchup has some sort of history or story to it. Every matchup seems like it's going to be a fun one with a team that seems like they truly deserve to be there with some loaded talent and good goaltending. And these two teams here have the history, the recent history, and both of them seem primed and ready to potentially go to the Stanley Cup Finals and win the grand prize of all sports. So to me, right now, Vegas, the second wildcard team, defending Stanley Cup champions, coming back with basically the same team. And news came out today, the unpredictable news that somehow, miraculously, with the amazing, Deadpool regenerative, health strength of Mark Stone has reset again, and he is going to be in for Game 1. No one's surprised, and the Dallas Stars just seem so ready for it, as they are first in the Central Division, and they are top 10 in every one of the best categories. Goals for a game, goals against, 3rd and 8th, PK 8th, power play 8th. 6th, sorry, I'm an idiot. The Dallas Stars are dominant in every category, and it's not surprised, because the Dallas Stars, I'm going to skip ahead here, are just so good. They are so lethal offensively, and they just have every piece of the puzzle. And one big thing that I want people to notice is it's one of those things where that's why I never look to Toronto and go, this is going to be the year, because you can't rely on one guy. You can't rely on two guys. You need to rely on the whole wolf pack. You have to, the team is who's playing, right? And being someone who's played hockey before, I get that. It is not a one-person sport. I've been on plenty of teams where we had, the one best player in the league, the best goal scorer, but guess what? We never won the playoffs, because the rest of our team just didn't know how to play good hockey. They didn't know how to come to the occasion, make some big plays, make some big hits, be smart playing hockey. Sure, you can have Austin Matthews score 70 goals. I know he didn't, but whatever. It's not going to mean anything in the playoffs, because you need those bottom guys, right? And that's why I look to Dallas, where you have the top line of Robo, Joe Pavelski, and Rupe Hintz. All goal scorers, all guys who can contribute together and just play, and play better than, almost any line they're going to play up against. Though that line right there. But then you go down the lineup to guy like Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn, who's scoring goals this year. You get to Wyatt Johnston, who's been incredible in the NHL so far and was a huge part of last year's run. Logan Stankoven is a guy who's an energy maker and has dominated every level he's been at, and especially how hot he is going into the NHL. He seems like the perfect, ripe kind of player who's going in going I'm going to dominate. I'm going in here and I'm going to put everything into it. And he's someone I see, not that I want this to happen, but I see him getting to the Stanley Cup Finals, and he scored a goal at one point where he, had diving for the puck, whacked it in with his stick, but in the process got whacked in his own face, and he's some guy that goes in the finals with a big stitch on his face. That's what I see Logan Stankoven doing. All these guys, goal scorers, getting points on the board over and over again, 30 goal scorers, but then I'm not even done. You get to Matt Duchene, who's getting points on the board since coming over from Nashville. Mason Marchment is a just incredible addition to this team. And it's just over and over again. This top nine's incredible. And the bottom line, you get down there to guys like Craig Smith are still doing so good phenomenally. And then can go out on the ice and just play those handful of minutes a game and really keep the pressure going until they get one of those lines back out there to score more points. I don't know. I know. Usually I do my math here, and I'm going to expose myself as being a pretty lazy, well, not pretty lazy, but being lazy today. But looking at the teams and comparing them just from my recent memory and going through the playoff teams, I don't know if I've seen a more stacked team full of 50, 60 point scores on any of these teams. Because sure, let's move over to Vegas, right? Sure, they have depth. That's one of their greatest potent assets, right? And that is what kept dummying other teams last year in the playoffs, where they just can roll any line. They all just go out there, they bounce guys off of them, they play physical, and they play with so much momentum and energy, and that's what won them the Stanley Cup last year, right? But they get guys with 30 points. They get guys with 40 points down the lineup, right? You look at Dallas, you still get to 50s and 60s by the third line. That is insane who they can roll out there. And they've got the grit. They've got all the important pieces of goaltending. Ottinger is a god. Well, not a god yet. Let me rephrase that. He's not a god, but he's a very good goaltender. I wouldn't put him in god tier yet. He hasn't really had that Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky kind of run yet in his career. But he's shown that he can be that goaltender. The defense has been, they have addressed their issues last season, not having any guys to really shut down a team like Vegas with all the momentum going forward. But they did this year, having guys like, I know they had Ryan Suter, but with the likes of Suter, Christopher Tanev on the team is a huge guy who's going to play very good defensively. Miro Heiskanen is probably the best he's ever been. Esa Lindell's huge. Like, Dallas has got the defense, the goaltending, and I've been over the offense, right? Every stat I want to look at here for Dallas is just exactly what you look for in a prime NHL team to win the Stanley Cup. Kind of like Vegas last year, where Vegas last year was the team that had linked to 20, 30 goal scorers. They're so deep and so packed together and so good, and this year is no different. Going into it, they're the same team. They still have guys on all the way to the bottom line who were fighting to make this team good, like guys like Cotter and Kolasar, all the way to the top lines with Marchessault setting a goal record for a Golden Knight, Eichel and Stone are around, Carlson's still here, Stevenson's, like, the team is loaded to the brim up front, right? And that it's the same team with better additions. Tomas Hertl, the guy who shut them down as the San Jose Shark, is on this team now. Anthony Mantha is a 44-point guy. They add Noah Hannafin to the already stacked defense of Pietrangelo, Theodore, McNabb, Martinez, and now Hannafin. Just so many guys who are going to go out there and play just such good hockey. And now, just today was announced that Logan Thompson will be starting the playoffs for them over Aiden Hill. And to me, it's just, it's the same team, but even better for Vegas, right? The depth is incredible. The defense is just as shut down it was before, if not more. But I have one scare about the Vegas Golden Knights, is that there's something about how loaded they are this season. And how loaded they are this season, the heights that they reached last year of winning the Stanley Cup, it kind of reminds me of the Florida Panthers a few years ago, where they were on track and no one's touching them to win the President's Trophy. They go all out and get guys like Claude Giroux, and I feel like it kind of just messed up the works a little bit. And to me, going into this playoffs, there's something just icky about the Vegas Golden Knights. And I'm someone who was full on for the Golden Knights. And I, for a while in the back of my head, thought that this is the team. They're going to go back to back. But there's something about going into the playoffs, and tonight is their first game, where I'm looking at this team, and there's just something holding me back. Because this series should have Vegas written all over it. It's the same team that beat Dallas last year, but even better and have better depth and better, just some upfront guys like Tomas Hertl can be a guy who leads this team in points on his own. But there's something about Vegas this year that it feels like they might have leaned a little bit too much into it, you know? And may have gone way over the top. And it's kind of one of those games where a team like the Rangers, right, where they go out and they get Patrick Kane, they get Vladimir Tarasenko, and I look at that and I go, well, they're going to win the Stanley Cup. I picked the Rangers to win the Stanley Cup last year, my final predictions before the playoffs, because I was just so into what the moves they made. And to me, there's just something about this Vegas team this season that is really messing with my head. And it's the fact that they were barely into the playoffs to begin with. And, you know, as they're the last team to make it in the West, that really is punching me in the face over them, right? And to me, this kind of feels like a ripe moment for Vegas to have a scenario like they did against the San Jose Sharks, where they lose in Game 7, where it feels like the type of thing where Vegas is the better team, sort of. But you have a layered team like the San Jose Sharks, who had Hertl on the lineup, and clutch playoff guys like Joe Pavelski, who's on the Dallas Stars, where you have Pavelski and Logan Couture, Brent Burns. You have a goaltender and even better in Jake Ottinger, right? Like, don't forget Vegas's history, right? Because this team, I know people say they're cutthroat and moving guys away, but that's like sort of true, but also not true. Because a lot of these guys are still on the team from when they played a team like the San Jose Sharks. And to me, This feels like one of those scenarios where a deep, deep team that can score goals over and over again, and especially how Vegas have recently their comeback loss to the Arizona Coyotes has really salted me. Because it was kind of the same scenario where people were talking bad about the Avalanche last year, where it was like the Avs. I'm someone who picked Seattle to beat them, but it wasn't because of it wasn't because of this. But people were pointing to like the Avalanche, going like, look at the Avs, like they lost to the Coyotes, and you're gonna lose to the Coyotes. You have a good chance to lose to them too. And to me, something about that recent comeback loss to them with this strength team just is holding me back from believing in Vegas. And something about it to me feels like this series is going to be one of those where we see an outcome where this is going to be the year where Vegas is going to do some crazy offseason moves and really upset some fans. And I'm going to say that this is going to be Dallas's series in 7. I think the moves that they made are incredible, and if it was up against any other team, if this was against the Avalanche, if this was against the Jets, I would pick the Golden Knights. If they were in the West, if they played the Oilers, they played the Kings, they played Vancouver, they played Nashville, which never would have happened, but if any of those scenarios could have happened, I'm picking Vegas. But Dallas is just so deep and have all those goal scorers, and they have the defense, and they have the goaltending. They feel like they have everything that Vegas also has, but maybe a little bit better and a little bit faster. They have the strength, they have the grit, they have the physicality, but they have the speed on their side. And to me, this feels like a series that could be the playoffs in the first round. I know people are saying that about the Avs versus the Jets just because they scored a lot of goddamn goals. That doesn't mean anything. This feels like the clash of the Titans, where one of these two teams move on and they will beat the Avs or the Jets, and then they move on and then beat the team in the Western Conference Finals and go to the finals. This feels like the Western Conference in a nutshell. Two amazingly stacked teams with amazing goaltending and defense and offensive talent and depth going up against each other. And I know the season series shows that Dallas lost 0-3 to Vegas, but to me, this is Dallas's series, and I think this is Dallas's win. And I think it goes the distance to 7. And I think it'll be a fun one, a back-and-forth one, a heated one. But I think the strength of Dallas is going to overcome them like the Sharks have done in the past. And I think Vegas loses this one. So that is all I got to say. So thank you for watching this. If you made it this far, please, I'm begging you, please subscribe. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll say all 3 of them, but please just subscribe more than anything. And until next time, too sweet, have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.